Hi. Hi, this is Gina. Thank you for joining me for this Astrology Chat Live for March 14th, 2025. We had a lunar eclipse last night in the sign of Virgo. I took this picture of the moon last night as it was rising. The sun was still out as well. As you can see, the sky was pretty blue. Um, and I thought it was just amazing. You can see that there was a little bit of that sort of reddish hue to the moon, I believe, and just huge in the sky. This picture really didn't do it justice. But this full moon is active for the next 2 weeks. It occurred on the 14th, but until we have the next lunation, the astrology of this eclipse is super active. I'm just going to advance my screen here to show you a little bit about that. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to go over a few different things to keep in mind concerning this period of time. I do have 6 different things that will help you to lean in the positive direction of the signature and fully maximize the experience. As you can see, I advanced a little bit too far and the first one came up. I'm actually going to back up just a little because I want to start by focusing on the astrology. Whatever the sky looks like at the time of the eclipse, is sort of embedded in that signature. And so it's worth keeping these things in mind for the next couple of weeks. This was our first eclipse in Virgo. And so that in and of itself was sort of special. But this eclipse was sort of a little extra. There were some additional things going on in the sky as well. And that's what we're going to talk about over here. First, I just want to say about eclipses in general that they are often very active times, very busy times where a lot is happening. Often astrology can be sort of a little bit beneath the surface, it can feel a bit relational. It can be happening sort of subtly. Even this Venus retrograde that we're having right now, it can be sort of working below the surface, but eclipses aren't like that. With eclipses, you will often see movement and happening, especially between the 2 eclipses. So this 2-week period that we're in right now. But this year, I would say really through to the end of March, middle of April is super active astrologically. Often we see a lot of movement in the collective, as we say, right? In the world, in terms of what's happening in the world. It is usually a very, very busy period. And then depending on how this eclipse is affecting your chart, it may show up as a busier period for you, depending on whether or not this particular eclipse is really activating your chart or not. But either way, the backdrop of this time period is really worth exploring astrologically. Okay, so let's just go through this chart a little bit and then we'll get into the 6 things. I also want to say that I started to do these 6 things yesterday and the video was interrupted. I had some technical problems, and so this is sort of a redo of yesterday's video. And if you were here yesterday, thank you for coming back, and I'll be sure to finish today. Hopefully that won't happen again. I blame the eclipse. Okay, and this is being recorded live, so please feel free to leave any questions in the chat or in the comments if you're watching it later, and I will get back to you. Also sort of sipping my coffee here just to continue to have my voice. It's kind of early in the morning. Sometimes not being able to sleep super well during an eclipse is a thing, and I feel that. I feel it just with full moons, for sure. And then an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, is sort of like a full moon times 10, right? So I think whatever you normally go through during a full moon, you will feel that a little extra during an eclipse. For me, often it does affect my sleep. Anyway, good morning. Let's go through this chart. So first, this is a South Node lunar eclipse. Wherever the South Node is traveling through, we're learning to release the negative sides of that sign's signature so that we can move toward the more positive sides of that signature and towards the more positive side of the North Node. So in this case, we're all working on releasing perfectionism, releasing the need to overplan, overdo. We're learning to not be so hard on ourselves, and that's helping us show up in a way that comes off as less critical and more supportive, where we genuinely want to serve and connect with others in practical ways, and where we're moving and flowing and making decisions about our lives from a place of true connection. Talking about up in Pisces now, sort of a mystical uh, connection with the world, really being tuned in to, I almost want to say attuned is a better word, being really well attuned to the people around us, being really well tapped into our higher selves, to our intuition, um, and to our connection with our highest self, the divine, however you think of it, very spiritual signature as well. So there's that. And that's something that we're sort of working on over the course of the next 18 months as the South Node travels through Virgo. And this eclipse may be a moment where that's illuminated in some kind of a way for you, where that kind of letting go, that kind of surrender is a benefit, right? These next couple weeks, work with that. Work, or I recommend, I don't like to say things where it sounds like I'm like saying, do this. um, I recommend working with that energy, which is sort of stepping away from the over planning, overdoing, moving more towards listening to your intuition, your higher self, connecting with others in a genuine way, not from a place of um, trying to get a bunch of, I don't know, being too critical. Virgo can sort of overdo it in that way. I think you all know what I mean. Let's move on from this aspect of the chart and talk about a few other things. Okay, so also you can see that these parts of the chart, the Pisces and Aries sections of the chart, are incredibly active right now. And it doesn't make sense to talk about this eclipse without addressing that. There's so much going on in both of these houses and signs. In some ways, it is about endings and beginnings, but it's about so much more than that. I have a separate video where I talk about this sort of Pisces Aries threshold being activated. I will link to that at the end. But in short, it's so interesting. These energies are so different from each other, and things going back and forth across this axis. It's like going from Pisces, we're dreaming the dream, where we're imagining what we want, and then we go into Aries and we sort of make it happen. And then we go back into Pisces for more dreaming, and then we go back into Aries for more activity. You know, there's some of that. But I think also a way to think about that is sort of listening and acting. You know, going to a place of listening to yourself, listening to others, and then taking action from that place, and then stopping and going back to more listening, more tuning in, and then taking action. So much activity in Pisces and Aries, a lot of letting go, a lot of new things coming in, beginnings and endings, compassion, leadership, dreaming, activity. And I will attach a separate video for more information. There's so much to talk about. We have to keep it moving. Venus and Mercury are in a very, very interesting dance right now. Venus is retrograde in Aries. Mercury will be retrograde in Aries tomorrow. So they've sort of been crisscrossing each other, crisscrossing this Pisces Aries threshold, bringing us information. I've been saying that Mercury and Venus's dance, it's sort of like thinking about our feelings and feeling about our thoughts. One way to think about it is that we're starting to really understand now what this Venus retrograde is all about. Have Venus related themes been coming up for you the last couple of weeks? Are you working on things like relationships or finances, aesthetics, art, creativity, love? All of these themes are Venus related. And with Mercury coming in there, it's almost feels like handing Venus a microphone, where before she was just sort of thinking about all of it and feeling about all of it and revisiting relationship patterns, maybe, doing things the way she'd done them before. And then someone just hands her a microphone when this Mercury crosses, and she can articulate what it is she's feeling in a different way. So that's active during the time of this very powerful eclipse where we're releasing that perfectionism. We're also being sort of, and working on these beginnings and endings. We're also sort of giving a voice to that Venus retrograde that's helping us to continue to work on our relationships, our love life, our finances, our aesthetic sense, creativity, things of this nature. There's also sort of just a seriousness to it, an emotional depth to the whole signature because of this Saturn Sun conjunction at this time. Saturn conjunct the Sun is quite mature, quite serious, and quite deep emotionally. So this could be a time where deep emotions are coming to the surface and they're being handled in a mature way. I also have a separate video about this that you can find on my channel, but I think it's controlling our emotions and the expression of our emotions. So as much as all of this is going on, again, there's like this slowing down to it. We're really learning not to just move and act too quickly. Or at least that would be my recommendation for this. I think some people will be moving and acting too quickly with all this energy in Aries, which could lead to miscommunication, outbursts, difficult emotions that could be happening all around you. But I think what the astrology suggests is that many of us are working with energy that is helping us learn how to slow that down, control our own reactions, show up with some emotional maturity, some emotional depth, and some real sense of responsibility that allows us to not take it that way, not contribute in a negative way to what's happening around us. Be responsible about handling it in the right way. So that's just sort of an overview of the astrology of this eclipse, which is active for the next 2 weeks. Let's get into these 6 tips that are different things to keep in mind to really help to sort of maximize the potential of this time. First, prioritize rest and boundaries. Take good care of yourself during this time. Rest and boundaries are 2 different things. Really, these could have been 2 different items on my list. They probably should have been, right? It's one thing to get rest. This very important and helpful at this time with all of this energy in Pisces and also just with an eclipse in general. It's very active. Getting rest helps you to tap into your best self and show up for everything that's happening as well as possible. And then boundaries, having good boundaries. This is a tough time. There's a lot going on and you need to protect yourself. No one else knows what's best for you, what's right for you, where your limits are, when it's too much. But I think pulling back a little bit from the world at this time is a good idea. And I guess that's why I initially put these together. They both feel like a pulling back to me. And I think that that's advisable at this time, just to continue to take care of ourselves with so much going on. Okay, so we've already discussed this and I've been talking about it basically incessantly on my channel. If you've been watching, you're probably sick of hearing me say to let go of perfectionism, over planning, overdoing. Okay. Virgo also rules our daily routine. So this is something that might be coming into focus over the course of the next 18 months as the South Node works through Virgo. Taking a look at your daily routine in terms of work, in terms of the way you care for yourself health-wise, like your exercise routines, the way you eat, the way you sleep, how much you sleep, all of these things. This is a great time to be working on those things and beginning to think about a process where you turn over a newer, better leaf. Now is a great time to reflect as we're actually in this eclipse window. If you made big moves right now they would probably just need some adjusting later. I think now is a great time to reflect and take a look at what you're doing and why, and whether or not it's really serving you. And then as a lot of these planets move direct, and once we're out of the eclipse window, once we're really into sort of mid-spring, you'll see those changes. It'll be easier and easier to have them unfold in your life. So you can sort of bring them into practice then, but now be reflecting on what you're doing and why in terms of your daily routines at work and with your health. Okay, with all of this retrograde energy, with the seriousness, just with everything that I'm seeing in the astrology, it might take more time to get things done than you expected. You might have to redo things. You might have to have the same conversation twice. You might need to um, redo a project that you thought was already complete, you know? And I think it's helpful to know that those things are coming up. It can sort of minimize the frustration when they do. If we know that it's coming, that things might take a little longer than expected. Okay. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about Venus. So we sort of addressed this as well, just to look out for realizations about any of those Venus themes: love, money, relationships, aesthetics, creativity. This is a time when those things might be coming to the surface. We have this intense illumination energy with the eclipse, and then we have this Venus retrograde happening at the same time, which is the rarest of the personal planets retrogrades. And there's just something about Venus retrograde that feels especially important to me when it happens. Wait, maybe that's not true. The Mars must be. Mars is the rarest, and I think Mars is the most powerful too. We just got over a Mars retrograde. Excuse my error there. No, Mars retrograde is kind of the most intense. But there's something about a Venus retrograde that it has like the most potential to me, to be able to work on those themes. I just, there's something so potent about a Venus retrograde. It's good energy to work with. Okay, and this is the last tip, and this is the tip that I didn't get to yesterday because of my technical difficulties. And isn't that sort of a little bit ironic, actually? Trust what's unexpected. So unexpected things, such as your video being shut down by some strange technology fluke, who knows what, um, happen during eclipses. Unexpected things will come up. I love that analogy that sometimes an eclipse can sort of feel like that strobe light energy. When you're somewhere and there's a strobe light, it's like very disorienting. The light sort of coming in and out. This time can have the energy of that. So unexpected things show up. Trust that they're showing up for a reason. Trust that it's moving you in a good direction, and sort of allow a little bit right now. That's leaning in the direction of that North Node in Pisces, and I think it will really serve you. So for example, when I had my technical difficulties yesterday, I went, okay, I'm going to trust it. It was unexpected. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. Also, I would journal eclipse themes at this time. This is the very beginning of the Virgo eclipse series that will be going on for the next 2 years. We don't have our final eclipse in Virgo until February 20th, 2027. So this is the first of 4 Virgo eclipses. If you wrote down sort of some of the things that happen in the next 2 weeks, say starting a week ago and for the next 2 weeks, major themes in your life, you might find that they come back, or you'll learn more as we go through this period. Be sure to check out the horoscopes on my channel for more information. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll be back again tomorrow.